All right. Let's keep this the ball rolling, if you will. And I appreciate those guys that are in the chat right now. Ivan, King Nacho, you guys always make it fun to be here each and every day, 6 a.m., 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, guys. The Arizona Cardinals, clearly we had issues with guys like Drew Petzing over the past couple of weeks, or I guess I should say over the final couple of weeks of the NFL season as my computer shakes for you guys. But there was some interesting news that came out over the weekend. For everyone that wants Drew Petzing gone, it was potentially horrific news for the Arizona Cardinals fan base. Because you might be stuck with Drew Petzing for the foreseeable future, regardless of how you feel about him. The Chicago Bears are interviewing Arizona Cardinals quarterback coach Israel Woolfork. And that is, without a shadow of a doubt, really bad news for the Arizona Cardinals. And you see Israel Woolfork in your bottom third of your screen right there. You probably didn't even know who the guy was. But Israel Woolfork seems, from some of the interviews and questions from the media and bare minimum from the guy, he seems like a very sharp dude. But the Cardinals can't afford to lose that guy. And I know it's kind of nonsense because he's a quarterback coach and it's hard to have a really strong opinion on a guy that, let's just be honest, it's the first time you're probably hearing of him. But this was the guy last year that I was hammering for to take the play calling duties away from Drew Petzing. Drew Petzing is too conservative. He is a shallow and crosser route wide or dump off guy. There was no creativeness in the offense. Each and every week, we were trying to figure out why Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray were never on the same page. Those were all things that were issues with Petzing that should not have been. And I was clamoring for Woolfork to take the play calling duties away from Drew Petzing. Seemed like a bright, sharp guy, and I thought to myself, it couldn't get any worse than what Petzing is doing offensively and making this a BB gun offense. If Woolfork, who I think is a really bright guy, over some of the interviews and media availabilities and just time standing around him that I've seen, I think that could be a potential gut-wrenching loss for the Cardinals. Because if Drew Petzing runs out the same offense, just runs it back in 2025, the offense that didn't work in 2024, you can't get rid of it. Woolfork was the only coach on that coaching staff that had any sense of being able to call plays. He's never called plays before, but no one else on that offensive staff has called plays before. It was one of the reasons why you never moved off of Drew Petzing, because the experience or lack thereof in the coaching staff just wasn't there. And you didn't want to hand the reins over to a coach who likely would have been even more conservative than Drew Petzing because they've never called plays before. Hence, just trying to not turn the ball over. But Petzing's offense was not creative. And if Israel Woolfork does get awarded the offensive coordinator position for the Chicago Bears, it could spill real issues for this Arizona Cardinals team. Not only is Kyler Murray losing his guy, the coach that he's spending time with individually to help better prepare him as a quarterback in the NFL, that being he is his quarterback coach. I think that if he takes that position or if he's offered that position, it can only mean bad things for Kyler Murray and it can only mean bad things for this offense potentially. Because Drew Petzing is the OC. And if he flames out again, runs out the same offense in 2025 as he ran out in 2024, there is a clear worry that you just can't replace him because there's no one else on this offensive staff with any experience calling plays, with any experience trying to keep this team together offensively. And it could be the straw that broke the camel's back in 2025. Because when you're looking for a replacement to Drew Petzing, you're looking around and the quarterback coach would be the guy to go to. Israel Woolfork, one of the more experienced guys, although he's never called plays. Kyler Murray's guy, the connection is there. If you lose him, you might just be stuck with Drew Petzing for the foreseeable future, with no other options to go. And I think that could spell bad news for Jonathan Gannon. It could spell bad news for this whole team. If this offense flames out again and you have no other options but to stick with Petzing, everyone could lose their job. Because with an offense that's as talented as this team, and McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. and James Conner and whatever it is, I mean, this team's got guys everywhere. Michael Wilson. I mean, if it flames out again, you might just run your course out here in Arizona after your third season. And no one wants to just lose their job here. So I thought that was some underlying news that didn't get as much headline or pomp and thrill on Twitter over the weekend because it's a quarterback coach. But it's something that could legitimately hinder the Arizona Cardinals season because of how much we went after a guy like Drew Petzing. And I would encourage you to go watch some of Israel Woolfork's media availability. He is a really bright guy, and I love listening to him personally. And it's why I mentioned at the beginning of the year, in the middle of the season, that this guy should probably take over for Petzing. He looks like he's got the personality of a little bit of a gunslinger. Just making things up as he goes sometimes. And with Kyler Murray's escapability, sometimes that's exactly what you need. Just a guy that says, get out there and rip it. And if he goes, I'll be honest with you, I know it's a quarterback coach, but I would be sad to see the guy go. He is exactly what this Cardinals offense needs, which is at times a gunslinger. So, some underlying news for the Cardinals fan base to keep your eye on. You don't want to see him walk out that door. Because if that's the case, you will likely be stuck with that being Drew Petzing. And Petzing last year, none of us were real fans of the guy. And we don't want to see it go through that again for another season. And then there's also just the brief caveat before I come to end here is Israel Woolfork. If he doesn't get the job with the Bears, you're like, okay, what's wrong with him? Because he impressed me. So either way, could be a double negative for that being one Israel Woolfork. But news to keep your eye on if you're the Arizona Cardinals, the potentially first big domino to drop in the offseason.